All right. So, Oluwabunmi, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How about you?
Okay, I'm very good. Thank you so much. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we start this?
All right. My name is Oluwabunmi Folarin. I'm a professional teacher, a professional LES teacher, content creator in the making. So in storytelling and digital innovation. So I tell stories about teachers and the education industry basically. So yeah.
All right, perfect. So basically, this session is going to be four questions, and the two of us are going to talk about them. We're going to see.
I didn't get that, sorry. There was a part that glitched.
Oh, sorry. We're going to talk about a few questions. We're going to discuss them. We're going to discuss your perspectives on these topics, and yeah, that's just basically seeing your opinion on these things that affect Nigerians, Nigeria as a whole. So, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the first,
Yes, I am.
Nigeria has over 18 million out of school children. Over 18 million. One of the highest numbers globally, with many in the north and rural communities. So, what I want us to talk about from your experience, what practical steps can the government take to reverse the trend within the next few years?
Within the next how many years?
The next few years. If it could be done
Eh.
within this year, that would be perfect.
Okay, honestly, from my experience as an educator, that is a very, very, very serious concern, and we really need to be honest about it. It can't even be solved this year, okay? But in the next few years, I feel like the problem majorly about this, at least you mentioned like north areas,
Yeah,
right? The major reason why these children are not in school in the first place, the very first thing is the insecurity in the land and the poverty in the land. So for us to solve it, we can't solve it in isolation.
yeah,
We
yeah,
need to
yeah.
make them know that these things, they are inseparable.
Hmm.
Okay. Solving, like, did you get me?
Yeah, very.
Okay. So we need to look for a way to solve it interchangeably. We can't say we should face security alone, education. Okay, security also is important, but education is one of the most important tools which will even sustain this security.
Yeah,
And we need to make them also know that once they are educated,
yeah.
it takes them out of this poverty problem that we talked about. And in a way, it sorts out the insecurity issue. Like when we're looking at a long term,
Okay, okay. You know that,
and like,
you know that even today, parents, I mean,
mm-hmm,
parents would know that, okay, this child of theirs has gotten to the stage to go to a particular class or go to school or, start attending a certain level. And then they by themselves will decide to remove that child and use the child for maybe labor in their house, send the child or some artist somewhere to whatever they would like them to, or take them. I mean, in the north especially, you see a lot of children whose parents are not necessarily on it.
sorry, sorry.
Can you
I
hear me?
don't know. It keeps glitching. Like it keeps taking out some of your words.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you right now. But when you're trying to make a sentence, I'll hear some parts, then I'll not hear some other parts. And
Yeah, I'll try to to take it.
Now it's even perfect. So what's the problem? Now I can hear you very well. Anyways.
Okay, fine. So what I'm saying is, you know that as of right now, a lot of parents, like you mentioned, you talked about educating the population to know that these are things that they should take more seriously, right? So you know, even today, parents parents who are
Mm-hmm.
educated, they might not uh,
Mm-hmm.
merely decide to take their children. Their children have gotten to perhaps let's say primary six, or their children have gotten to the stage where they will go to maybe even the senior secondary, and they will decide to keep these kids at home,
Mm-hmm.
send them to the other parts of the country to go and serve their auntie or uncle or brother, sister, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even the parents themselves are part of this issue.
Yes.
Because now, even where there are provisions made for a certain amount of
Children to actually go to school.
exactly, the parents themselves
Mm-hmm.
might not even bring, because the teacher will not go to your house to go and drag your child away.
Definitely not.
Okay, so what do you think about Nigeria having you know the way they have it in the US? There's something called Child Protective Services. You know, those
Yes.
those people actually have the power to stop or to intervene in the family for the sake of the
Mm.
child. What do you think about Nigeria involving or incorporating something like that?
Honestly, I look forward to that kind of. Honestly, I've seen situations that in the US, like children of their own biological parents
Yeah.
will call the cops on their
Mm,
parents in it, and they will actually listen to the children over the child. But honestly, I think the major issue here is that those parents thing is that's why they can easily like disregard it and say
mm,
it's better for you to go and bring something that will bring money. I think they have to be like properly sensitized about how, not just by just saying theories or by saying things. You should show them practical situations, practical education alleviates them from this poverty. Okay, and also, yeah, they have like pain problems. They won't even be thinking about furthering their education. Or I feel like if all these basic things are put in place and if they are properly like sensitized, conversation we won't even be having it in the first place. And problems at least to an extent.
okay,
So yeah.
that's a very brilliant answer. Okay, so okay, let's move on from that question. Let's move on from that question. There is another
Okay.
question here that is a lot more within your purview as a teacher. Um, Public
Okay.
schools are overcrowded. They are so over. I mean, you can go to some government schools and you see almost 300 in classroom, one single class, you know,
Okay.
and it will be under a single teacher as well. It will be under a single teacher. It's not as though the teachers are different. It will just be one single. So what I want to ask you is how does from your experience, from what you've seen years teaching, how does this affect the children, the students themselves? How does it affect the way they learn? How does it affect the way they assimilate information? How does it affect the outcomes? And do you think uh, there should be, or what kind of policies do you think the government should involve or incorporate that would use such pressure?
Mm-hmm. classrooms like that, 300 students to one teacher, because honestly, that's not even a classroom. It's almost as if you are controlling crowd. Maybe you're
Yeah.
an MC to an event. And that takes away the entire purpose of the quality education that we want them to get. The point is that we don't just want them to come to school to come and mark attendance that they came to school, that okay, they are actually out of school children. Like we have reduced the number of out of school children and they are now in school.
Yeah.
Okay. It has not become a quality issue because they're not just coming to mark attendance, they're coming to learn. And in an crowded classroom, definitely they are not learning because even children that are naturally quiet, they'll struggle to learn
Hmm.
skills like reading,
Hmm.
writing,
It will
things
be
that need
tough.
like
Yes.
comprehension. They'll
Yeah.
start suffering with it. The teacher on their own, they'll become overwhelmed because leading that kind
Even the
of
heat in the
leading one,
class.
leading two. So for us to be really realistic here, the solution here is to like hire more teachers. Okay, we need to really hire more teachers. Then expand classrooms, make because like I said before, we're not just coming to mark attendance. We actually want these children to learn. And for us to get these desired results that we want in their learning outcomes, we must first create a very conducive environment. Okay, that teaching and learning is convenient. We should not only think about something that is convenient for the learners and for the teachers as well, so that this learning that we want to.
Okay. That's brilliant. So 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 perhaps the government could make policies that would mandate uh school owners and especially in the public sector, mandate those
Public
government
schools,
schools,
yes.
yes, public schools, to have a certain
Mm-hmm.
limit to the number of students in a particular class. The
Yeah.
moment the moment it exceeds, they should start breaking them off into maybe arms A, B, C, D, and they should get separate teachers for each of those arms.
Most private schools have teacher to student ratio.
Yeah,
They should. I'm sure they even have it in written down as a policy, but implementation may be what may be the
brilliant.
problem.
Yeah.
So we should work towards implementing it even in public schools as well. So yeah.
Another question for you. This one
Okay.
concerns the salary or the wages that most teachers earn. And I want to extend it to not just public schools, but private schools as well. Many teachers go months without salaries, and at times the wages that they are being paid don't even they sometimes the wages don't even cover transportation, much less living costs. You know. So what I want to ask you now, how does that impact the teaching quality, or does it impact the teaching quality? Does it?
Of course it impacts. Of course it does. If you know me very well, across all my platforms, like my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my TikTok, everything, this is one of the major core of what I talk about because it's affecting everything. It impacts everything. Imagine because you honestly cannot pour from an empty cup.
Mm,
And
mm,
it is the reality of not only public school teachers, honestly, even teachers in the
wow,
private sector.
wow.
Yes, even in the private sector is affected. I think it is more. Let me just leave it like that. Okay, but honestly, poor pay it's really affecting the perception of teaching. It's affecting the profession growth. Okay, think about it. Teaching is a job that requires like emotional labor. It requires your patience. It
Mm,
requires your creativity. It requires your empathy.
mm,
It requires consistency. And the basics for what you are even asking for, you are not getting it, you are financially stressed. Of course, it's going to affect the quality of the teaching. It will drop because the teachers will just not care. Because at the end of the day, they are human beings, and passion or sentiment is not going to pay the bills with it.
mm.
Okay, so honestly, Nigeria wants quality education. Teachers were famous. Stop even being. something that we are debating or
Wow.
something that we are
That's,
managing. Because a lot of people, it's very, very easy for them to disburse funds to this sector, disburse funds to this one. But when
education.
it comes to education,
Yeah.
they are minimizing. And that's why the best talents are leaving teaching.
Hmm.
Even the people that are leaving there are remaining there, they become stuck, maybe because they don't have anywhere else to go. That's why we keep getting. I'm not saying teachers are the worst talent. That's why a lot of people that can't get their desired role will start settling for teaching, and the
Hmm.
best talents will leave in because the sentiment or the creativity or the drive and the passion that you have will not pay your bills in the long run. Okay, you can't neglect your own life and be shaping another child's life. Their own future self will not turn out well. Okay, because so honestly, we really, really need to take care of teachers' salaries and not just increase it now,
Yeah.
sustain it over time. So
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my God, I love that answer. I can hear the multitude of teachers across Nigeria rooting for you. Okay, fine. Although I wanted to mention something, but I'm
Because
not sure.
yesterday,
Yeah,
okay,
go on.
always do something, you just mention teacher or teaching profession, and everybody just the next thing that anybody is thinking about is that they are poor,
Hmm.
their salaries are. It's almost like don't it. And it's, honestly, teachers to have a part to play in it, but
Hmm.
honestly, they should really, really not neglect teachers' welfare. It's so, so important.
Um, let me for a brief minute, let me be the voice of the principal or the voice of the school, or the voice of the person responsible for. Let me just for a brief minute, you know, the argument would be
Okay.
that the argument would be that even if you were to pay a teacher 10 million per week, that an unserious
Mm-hmm.
teacher will still be an unserious teacher. What do you say?
Mm. Honestly, they should pay them the 10 million per week first. Let's see the honestly, those are just excuses. Why is that line of thought only ascribed to teachers? On serious, not because that's their own behavior. It's not because of the profession that they are
Mm,
unserious. Or am I not getting your line of question? What I'm trying to say is that it's not because of the profession that anybody will do that will become unserious. It's because of their maybe personal
character.
values or this character, behavior, not because they are teachers. I don't know
Mm,
if you get me.
I love that answer.
So,
I love that answer. Okay, we will have to cut the segment into second part, but
okay.
yeah, we have a few more questions before we
All right.
take a break and then go into
All right.
second segment. So, um, right now,
Mm-hmm.
um, many Nigerian children they combine schooling with street trading. In fact, let me not even say many Nigerian children. At least 70 to 80% of Nigerian children combine schooling
Okay.
with street trading, farm work, supporting their families. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it wasn't so long ago that we heard of the 15-year-old, was it 16-year-old that, had to leave, drop out from school to go to, as they say, hustle, and, you know, he bought his mom a house. Now, that, sure, you hearing that sounds like good news. Yeah, sure, he bought his mom a house, but how did he get that money? Right? And why did he have to drop out to do that? You see, so how does this, um, so to speak, this uh, new age philosophy of school and scam, how does it affect them? How does it affect families? How does it affect children? And what social policy can be set up to either support children who are having this double life, or uh, stop it entirely and give them something better to hope for.
Okay. So the very first part of your question was about child labor, like children having to work, combine work with school, right? And
Exactly.
then them now seeing that education is not so important, right? If
Yes.
that's your question, I
Yes.
want to get you correctly. Okay. The child labor parts, honestly, combining, even me myself, I'm actually a student, honestly, but combining work and being a student, a child that is tired cannot learn. Honestly, a child that is tired. Now imagine combining street trading, farm work, now come exhausted, suffer. What the government can do, number one, like I said before, maybe just social to like vulnerable families. Okay, then the other parts of your question, where you asked that okay, children no longer see the need to like study since they can make it elsewhere, right? Was that what you asked about?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, it still relates to that because for a child to choose um survival over education is because at that point in their need, this particular need is more pressing than this. So if if their needs are met, honestly, we won't even be having this conversation. But what we can do to elevate things like this, sensitization, honestly, but honestly, I just feel like if their needs are met, if their
Yeah.
needs are honestly met, although there's the exception that will always be that, but if their needs are met,
Yeah.
nobody will be forced to choose between education and survival. Okay. Even we that we are talking right now that are polishing education and all, if you get to the point where you obviously choose your survival over education. Okay. But you don't know that education in the long run can even feed you.
Hmm.
But there's that to it. So we should just support them. Maybe the government can do a lot of things. There are a lot of things they can do to support them so they don't have to start picking one over the other.
Hmm. Okay, like maybe perhaps the government could create a sort of. Although the thing is, they're
There are
actually.
a lot of things they're already doing, actually. They are like school feeding programs. I think for like public schools, they feed them
And
because a
they
lot
have.
of people used to say it's if they are hungry, that's when they'll start thinking about bad things to do.
Yeah.
They're like, but there's more support they can do to especially those vulnerable families.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Bumi. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about teen pregnancy, drug use, and cultism. They are very interesting topics.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, so Bumi, welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll get right back into uh, starting with the next question on teen pregnancy, drug use, cultism. They are rising in a lot of secondary schools. So I want us to, because these are very, very critical topics, topics that we can't just brush over. I want us to take each of these
Mm.
topics one after the other. Let's start from teen pregnancy. What is teen pregnancy? Does it actually still happen? And how does it happen? Why does it happen? And what role do you think schools, parents, perhaps even churches and mosques, or the governments, uh, what role do you think these organizations can play beyond academics addressing these problems? This particular.
Okay. Honestly, teen pregnancy, drug use, and all of these things, it's a really, really sentimental issue, and it's even surprisingly rising in secondary schools.
Yeah.
Because when I was in secondary school, I don't think these issues were very, very paramount as they are right now. And it's very, very sad. And honestly, school cannot ignore it. Okay. So beyond academics, I think the way schools can reduce the reoccurrence of these issues is to teach
Okay, sorry, Bumi.
life
Bumi,
skills
sorry.
beyond
Sorry to
academics.
interrupt.
Yes.
Um, First of all, let's know how do you define teen pregnancy and how does it happen? What actually what
Divine,
yes, what circumstances have to happen for something such as teen pregnancy to actually occur? What are the consequences around that? Let's just start from that.
okay, so let's talk about teen pregnancy.
Yes.
So teen pregnancy is when a minor, that is a child beyond, below 18 years,
Yes.
gets pregnant.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what causes that to happen? Of course, when there is not enough guidance. That's
Mm.
one very, very prominent cause of that. When there's no guidance and supervision for a child. And of course, when these children are not very, very aware,
Mm.
sensitized about this issue.
About
I
the
feel like
sexual
that's the major, yes, about sexual education
yes.
and prevention and all of these things. Those are the major issues that causes
Okay,
teen pregnancy.
what consequences? What is the fallout for the parties involved, for the families involved, for the school and the government, in fact, the nation as a whole?
Okay. Now, honestly, going to single person, like one person, not pregnant,
Yes.
is already taxing enough.
Mm.
Not to talk of what the ripple effect of what pregnancy will do affect the child, affect the parents, affect the education in the long run. It's a whole lot. For children, of course, for majority of them, their education gets cut short
Mm.
abruptly because obviously they can barely navigate living as children and not to now add pregnancy, of course. So their academics gets cut short,
Mm.
which affects them in the long run. They can't progress at the same what's the word? At the same
Peace.
timeline with their mates.
Yes.
Yes, at the same pace with their mates.
Yes.
So it affects them. And it's not just their academics, it affects their mental health
Mm.
too as well.
Yeah.
It affects their mental health. So it takes a whole lot on children, a whole lot.
Okay, so yes, now that we have gotten a firm grasp on what this actually what
Okay.
role what role do you think that let's start from school. What role do you
Okay.
feel the family? What role do
Mhm.
you think that uh, maybe if there are any guardians? What role do you think the government itself should play curbing such a such a life altering event? Hmm.
Okay. So for schools, since it's a life issue, it's happening, real
Yes,
life,
yes,
we cannot just focus on subjects and ignore this particular part of their life.
yeah.
Like I said, the major issue, what causes it in the first place, is no guidance and supervision, and them not being aware of it in the first place. So we should start by equipping the students with like life skills, guidance, like real guidance. And let me not even say guidance and support, because majority of what um at least I don't want to speak from my own experience alone. Most schools, whenever they want to give out guidance, they give it out, how should I explain it? Like whenever most schools want to like preach about something, how bad it is, they talk about it like the consequence of this is what will happen. They just paint the whole picture, like make it look like one scary. Of course it is scary, but children need to be supported.
Hmm.
They need to, they work best when they feel seen and heard,
When they
and
feel safe.
that's where they can be guided.
Yes.
Not like they'll be seeing, if they only see it like, oh, the consequences of this particular thing like this, just get punished or just get pregnant and my school education will get you. I don't even want the school in the first place.
Ah.
Okay. So I feel like
Hmm.
they should properly make them seen, heard. That's the only way we can actually guide them.
Hmm.
Okay. Then we should educate them on, well, we should prevent this issue and not even get into it and start looking for ways to curb it.
Hmm.
So we should just put more work into our counseling, teaching children life skills, guiding them, and then supporting them. Supporting them. That will really help the children really feel seen.
Okay, so
Okay,
families,
because
what
when
role
they
do
actually feel seen, they
yes,
won't want to make this kind of mistakes, I believe.
yes. They won't want to make it alone. They will at least, yeah, I mean, if they don't feel comfortable talking to family, maybe
Yeah,
young lady
that's the
doesn't feel
word I
comfortable
was
to talk
trying to get.
to her
If
mom.
they don't feel comfortable with you, with
Yeah,
talking about this
yeah.
issue and all of that.
At least they should be able to talk to their teacher or their guardian. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so that actually gives me an idea. So perhaps maybe the government can actually, create policies that would mandate, especially governments, to have, you know, a guardian system, or a counselor system where each student is not just
Mm-hmm.
attached to a teacher now, but attached to a counselor,
Mm.
a qualified counselor. Perhaps maybe one counselor could be attached to like five, something, a small
Okay,
number that
that's
will,
realistic.
yeah, that will allow them, to be able to, cater
Be
for
able to
each person.
monitor them.
Exactly, that's the word. Monitor them,
Mm-hmm.
individually, ensure that their well-being and their mental health is, up to standard. And I feel like uh, that's a policy the government could actually incorporate.
Yes. That looks like something that can actually work and can actually prevent this issue.
And then in the situation where there is an issue with a particular child or student
Mm-hmm.
and another student, we don't need to start asking ourselves, how did it, where did it, how, from where, what happened. We just go straight to them
Mm-hmm.
counselor and place
Yeah.
the responsibility on them. How could this have happened under your?
Mm.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes. Okay, that's okay. Um, let me ask you another question that very well within purview as it is.
Okay.
So parents often leave education entirely to school. I I have seen this happen time and time again, where the families just drop their kids at home and whatever wants to happen should happen. And then when something does happen, they come to the school and start fighting the teacher,
Okay.
calling management. So yes, this. Why would this be happening? What's going on? So my question is, how important is parental engagement to the success of students? And do you think policies could be created to, um, involve parents more in the educational growth of their children?
Okay, that's a very, very, honestly, very, very good question because parents just feel like once they've paid school fees, the
Yeah,
whole responsibility lies on the head of the teacher,
yeah.
which is very, very wrong. And that's why we start having conversations like saying that a parent is blaming a teacher because my child did not pass.
Hmm,
That is a teacher's fault. And they don't know that parents and teachers, we're not on opposite sides.
hmm.
We're both on the same side
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the betterment of your child. We both want the same thing. So we are not
Hmm.
enemies. We are on the same side. We both want the same goal. So it is not a competition between child and parent. It is a collective responsibility. What it
Hmm.
means is that if only the teacher does her own side,
Yes.
no matter what, the child is only going to get 50% of, you are only going to see 50% of the work, because whatever is taught in school, if it is not reinforced at home, only half of the work is actually done. And the result, oh, my phone, and the result that we want, we actually suffer.
Hmm.
Okay, so parents' engagement in like children's learning is not even
Yeah.
optional at all, because it affects their values, it affects their confidence, it affects their results. Imagine in school, I'm coming to teach my children, and my children in my class, I'm teaching them that, oh, it's not okay to talk rudely to elders. It's not okay. Respect is paramount.
Yeah.
While the child goes home, and at home, the child is allowed to speak to the nanny anyhow,
Hmm.
to talk to the child anyhow, and talk to the nanny anyhow. Of
Yeah.
course, child will feel like, oh, I'm doing it and getting away with it. The teacher will start struggling with it, with reinforcing that same thing, respect, and doing all of that things. So parents actually need to know that it's we are we're not competitors. We should be co-petitors. We should work together
I like that. I like that.
to be on the same side
I feel like
of
that should be
the.
on billboards. Oh, I love that.
So yes, but can the government really do anything to regulate these parts of for parents? I mean, should they be even telling you to be involved in your
Like, I
children's
mean,
progress?
it should be a
Like
given.
even things like workshop, you see
Yeah.
parents be negligent about, nonchalant about
Yeah.
it. Like,
About their
but
own
they really should
children.
be
Hmm.
involved. They
Yeah.
really should be. If not, if you are not involved, then you have no right to complain about the progress of your child,
Yeah.
because
Okay. So,
yeah.
we're going to enter another. I have just 4 questions, and this is a special segment.
Okay.
Now, this segment just requires um, one answer, or a straightforward answer. So they are not
Okay.
necessarily, yes, don't need to elaborate too much. So, okay, so the first question, these are issues that are happening, and I just want you to give your
Okay.
2 cents. So this particular one, you've actually mentioned it. Nigeria actually allocates far below recommended 15 to 20% of the nation's national budget.
I didn't get that at all. It keeps breaking.
Okay, I said Nigeria actually allocates far below, the recommended 15 to 20% of a nation's national budget to education. So Nigeria allocates
Okay.
far less,
Okay.
to education. So what I just want to hear from you, how do you think lawmakers can balance education funding against other national priorities?
Okay. I want to ask, like, what is the required like percentage
15
that
to
is
20% required
that's the
globally.
required one
Globally, yes.
globally? Okay.
Yes.
And may I know what, because I don't know what is the percentage that
Nigeria
Nigeria
is
allocates,
far
like
below.
their budget for
Don't even
education.
bother yourself. It's far below.
Ah, okay. So policies and all this budget thing and all of those legislative
Yeah,
policies, they're not really my strength.
yeah,
But basically, what this conversation is just for them to understand priorities.
yes.
Because we're not saying that, okay, education is more important than the rest of the
I
things
am
of the
actually
national
saying that
policy.
too. I am saying that too.
Security is important, health
Hmm.
is important,
Okay,
the
yes.
economy is important. But the thing is that
Yeah,
education strengthens every single one of them.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
An educated population will reduce insecurity in a
Insecurity.
way.
Yes.
It will grow the economy.
Yes.
It will even lower unemployment. So
Exactly.
we'll end up seeing that other things that they are
All these
prioritizing,
other things are just
because,
consequences of,
yes,
of,
of the
of
negligence of
exactly,
education.
exactly.
Yes.
So it's like
So
treating the
I think,
symptoms instead of the cause.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
yes,
So honestly, even if they can't meet the required recommendation, that is a
yes,
15 to 20%,
yes.
let them even be committed to a steady education funding.
Hmm.
Then let's say that year after year you get, not that we are reducing,
Yes,
okay?
yes,
So education is the foundation for all these other things.
yes,
Okay, so if we prioritize this,
yes.
then the rest of those things will just become
All in.
sustainable as a result of, just like you said, terms and courses. And yeah, the courses, yeah.
Yeah. And
When education is underfunded, every other sector will pay the price, honestly. Every other
every sector,
sector.
there's no sector that will be exempt. Every sector.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Mm.
Thank you so much. Another question there. Um, Education policies often change with each new government.
Okay.
The same, although this is more like little question, that question, because every single government, every single administration comes with their own style, come with their own ideas. So there's really no consistency. Um, what do you think about Nigeria adopting, or let me phrase it this way? Do you think that the education sector should be cut out? You know, that sector should be cut out from from every other sector. Let the education sector be viewed differently from just every other sector. If the education sector is cut out, do you think that it would allow a more long-term management of that sector? It would allow Nigeria to adopt a more long-term uh, management or administration that would create longevity. It would create planning, long-term planning. For instance, a particular
Mm-hmm.
organization comes in and sets up a fund for uh, feeding public school students within a certain
Mm-hmm.
class. Then another administration comes in, and because they feel, I don't know what they think. Maybe they feel something else is more important. They just start diverting that money into somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's that aspect of the business feels it, and part is felt. So, do you think that a sort of style where the education sector is untouched by changing administration will actually improve the way it is?
Mm. Honestly, change is important, and like we always say, change is the only constant thing. But with when it's now becoming like too frequent change on like no standard structure, it's not
Yes,
looking as if no, they are using the education industry sector as experiments.
exactly.
Okay, and the thing is that the consequences of all of these changes, all of these policies, it's affecting the students, it's affecting
Definitely.
teachers, it's
Yes,
affecting the system. Okay, it's not even affecting those people that are creating the
the laws.
policies and
Yes,
change. I
yes,
know that recently when they changed this, they added, I think recently they added some new curriculums, new
yes,
subjects to
yes.
the curriculum. And because I follow a lot of education people on LinkedIn, there are lots of conversation about it, that the government is making this subject compulsory when there is no even structure, or there are no even systems put in place to facilitate these things. Okay. So I don't think they need to be cut out to one particular sector, because if they cut it out and just, if they're still going to do the same thing independently, we've not solved the issue. Okay. So honestly, what I feel should will work is that, okay, we should just have a uniform standard, uniform administration, so that if we're making any changes, that we are making a progress, not that we are changing something entirely.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't
Like each change should
okay. So
be
before we
deliberated. Okay, okay, sorry, continue.
Yes, each change should be properly researched about. Most times, the people that they make these changes of consideration before these policies are implemented. Like you are, what's there's this part made in compulsory, and a large number of, we don't even have facilities, we don't even have trained professionals to impact that. And so before we bring up new changes or before we change direction, let's make conscious efforts to improve what is already existing first. Let's
Yeah.
improve that one. Then we can now improve it and evolve gradually. And we should also find out from the people, administrators, okay, so that we'll know what actually works, not just to create policies that look nice on the paper but cannot work in real life. Okay, so we should actually think this process through before we make up changes like that. So yeah.
All right, this has been absolutely amazing, Bumi. In closing, I want you to give two. I want you to give two statements to two set. The first set of the first set,
Mm-hmm.
the first set, a child, student, young,
Mm-hmm.
so many thoughts going through their mind. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have as much guidance as they would have loved to have. Their peers are pressuring them. Pre- there's so much pressure. Perhaps if the person is a lady. There's so much pressure to do as the woke kids do, I would say, or not backward person. Test things. You only live once. Try things out. Try this out. Try this out. You know. What would you tell? What would you tell a young girl or young boy who is being pressured to have you know some of these experiences even while they're in school? While to engage in some of these experiences like we've already mentioned. You know, what would
Mm-hmm.
advice be such a person?
Okay, so what I'll say is this. There's something I used to say. I think one time I wrote a post about it and it caused this full blown argument that experience is not the best teacher. Experience is a good teacher, but it's not the best teacher because there's wisdom. I literally don't have to put my hand inside fire for me to know that fire is hot,
Yeah.
for me to now learn. Oh, the best way for people to learn is through wisdom. Somebody should be able to tell you something that this is bad and you learn from it. You don't necessarily have to experience it. Okay. Because for me, what I'll say to any young child or any young person,
Yeah.
honestly, you do not want to learn with your experience.
Hmm.
Okay. That's why there's you don't want to be using your life to be doing trial and error.
Hmm.
Okay. That's why we can learn from like people's wisdom. You can learn and be wise from mentorship. You can learn and be wise by asking questions. You don't necessarily have to see it for yourself. So it is normal. Any young child that is listening to this, no, it is also normal. It's also the right thing for you to do the right thing. It's also
Yeah.
important that you make want to do trial and error with your life. Trust me, you don't want to do trial and error with your life. Let's learn from people's experience. Don't use your own experience to learn. Okay. So it's a good teacher. Experience is a good way to learn. But most times, especially for bad experience, you have to live with the aftermath or the
Hmm.
consequences of what has happened.
Yeah.
So honestly, for young people, it is normal. It's completely normal for you to feel this type of way, but it is very, very important for you to make the right choices. Okay, that's why you have people's experience to be a yardstick for you to make, not to make the same mistake. So, yeah,
I love the way you said learn from people's experience. Don't use your experience to learn. I mean, you've been dropping some real one-liners here.
I'm not saying experience is entirely bad,
No, I
okay?
totally
But I just
understand.
feel like the best way to learn
Yes,
is from wisdom, and wisdom
perfect.
can come through so many ways.
Yes, you're very right. All right. So, the second set that I would like you to speak. Um, second set,
Mm-hmm.
the lawmakers now, or the policymakers, the person's calling the shots.
Okay.
Let's say now you, let's say now
Okay.
that National Assembly gave you an opportunity to redesign things, or give you an opportunity to speak, one on one with the senators, the honorable senators,
Okay.
the right honorable members, senior senators, and other
Okay.
persons that are making policies, right? Let's say you were given a face to face, to speak, to them about,
Mm-hmm.
all the issues that we've discussed in the education sector, right?
Okay.
What would you in one or two or three sentences, what would you say to them? What would you tell them?
One or two or three sentences. There are a lot of things I want to tell them.
Okay.
Okay. Let me try to be as brief as possible. Number one, of course, I know you can already guess
Yeah.
what I was saying. Teachers' perspective. Teachers
Yeah.
are the backbone of this education industry. You can't tell me that the pilots of this whole sector, they are broke.
Mm,
Of course not. Teachers dreams, teachers mold the nations, teachers build futures. And if they are not fairly compensated, every other thing, no matter the policies, no matter the curriculum development, no matter the system that we put in place, they will fail because if they are not comfortable, the things that we are trying to get will face. So teachers' welfare must be a very, very top priority. That's number one. Then um, we talk about this SDG 4 quality education and access to quality education, but honestly, I think it just happens in paper,
mm,
but it's not really really practiced. So access to quality education, irrespective of who you are. So I really want is Nigeria whereby every children, regardless of whether you're in the north, regardless of your gender, regardless of your family income, regardless of if you have special needs,
yes.
you should be accessible to quality education. Okay. So this solves the addressing out of school children in a way. So
Yes.
they should actually put structures into like making sure these things that we said,
Mm,
all these goals that we put in place are actually working. So
yes.
every child, irrespective of everything, should be accessible to quality education. Then another thing I would say is skills development and like learning beyond the classroom. Honestly, I feel like the government, they should do a lot of things to our academic, like to our curriculum, so that it will prepare children for the life
Right.
this 2026 that we are in.
Yes.
That's why till tomorrow I'll still say I've not seen what divide the X to solve in my present life, because we end up saying that all the things that they are being taught in school it's
Not
not preparing
applicable
them for the world
to
that
life.
they will. Yes, exactly. It's not applicable. So education should equip children to thrive in 2026. It should
Mm,
equip children to thrive in
I
2056.
love that.
Okay. And it should also make them independent.
Mm,
And what it means is that we should not just be coming to classes to be teaching academics. That's why in China they will say a 4-year-old child is already building phones,
mm.
doing maybe not phones, but maybe sewing and doing all
Actually,
of these
actually,
amazing
I've
things
heard a lot of stuff
that our
about China.
children
Yeah.
exactly our children here can't even complete.
Mm,
So the education industry, like the academics we are giving them,
yeah.
is preparing them for like learning. beyond the classroom. They should be relevant beyond the classroom. They should be innovative, should make them independent. It should also make them globally competitive, because that's another thing.
Yeah.
It should make them globally competitive. So whatever education that we are giving out, it should not just be theory. Let them see how this learning affects them beyond the classroom. It could be entrepreneurship. There's so many things that I had to relearn and unlearn outside school. I'm not saying that I didn't learn anything in school, but regardless, the education that we should be giving out should make them well equipped to face the world, at least to an extent. Then let them not start relearning and learning from scratch to an extent. So those are the basic three things I would say.
All right. Thank you so much,
let's leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been one of the most amazing. Thank you so much. Your perspectives and thoughts, they are brilliant. They are innovative, and I hope that incorporated presently. So everyone watching, I want to say, I'm sorry. Okay. So everyone, I want to say, have a beautiful day. This was the InsideNASS podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you.